Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. So today I'm here with a new video. You know that OpenCloud has released a new update. And I was actually thinking of showing you how to take advantage of this update. How to use OpenCloud, even if you're not an expert in IT, automation, or artificial intelligence. I want to show you how to set up OpenCloud so that it's already equipped and capable of performing really high quality tasks. So when you install OpenCloud for the first time, you need to know that OpenCloud is limited. That means it doesn't have the capability to, in fact, search the internet or decrypt certain codes, or even sometimes it's only able to respond to you by saying, I can't do that, or I don't know how to do that. So for all of that, I'm simply going to show you how to hack it so that OpenCloud will obey any request you make. You'll see that in this course, I'm going to show you how I was able to create a workflow just by copying this prompt. I didn't do anything except copy this prompt. This is the result. This is the final fully operational result that I managed to achieve. It's a fully functional N8N workflow. This one allows me to check my entire email inbox and see if there are any emails that I should urgently reply to. It gives me a summary and suggests possible replies. It sends this to me on Telegram and I can tell it reply or not, or what information needs to be checked. It's a system that checks this 3 times a day. It's like having an assistant. Everything you're seeing here is a mechanism that was created automatically with just a single print command. And the result you're seeing is this one. I didn't intervene with the nodes. It's simply a fully functional workflow. I connected the credentials and the system is ready. It's actually ready to launch. So, for software like OpenCloud to give you this kind of result, be careful. You actually need to follow certain installation steps. So we're going to install some skills so that the system can respond to me like this with an operational workflow. And I haven't even opened N8N, which means the automation application is closed. He created this, installed it, implemented it, and now it's actually ready to be launched. So I'm using specific skills and I'll start showing you how to debug the memory issue we have with OpenCloud. Also using Perplexity Deep Search, so this is a bit different from the regular Perplexity. It gives you the ability to actually go on the internet and really dig deep. And also I'm actually going to solve a token consumption issue with OpenCloud, because OpenCloud is expensive when it uses your APIs. And that's very important. So now I'm going to show you how to install this project on OpenCloud with a simple command line or prompt, quite simply. And the system will actually forget and not consume my prompts. And at the end, of course, don't forget the N8N skill that we'll install to actually achieve this result. So don't forget that with this course, I'm giving you all my documentation. So really, I have a complete set of documentation. I'm giving you all of this for free. All the skills, all the essential systems to run OpenCloud. I'll leave the link for you in the description. And we're going to do all the installations step by step, training for beginners, for anyone who really wants to become an expert in automation and artificial intelligence. Stay until the end, because at the end, I'm going to give a little gift to those in my community who really want to become experts in N8N and everything related to automation today. So now we're going to install an OpenCloud server. Now, when I install OpenCloud, the first thing you really need to know is that you should never install OpenCloud on your local machine. Because with this artificial intelligence, if you ever have what's called a prompt injection, that means if there's an attack and someone tries to manipulate your agent, they could ask it to retrieve all your photos and images. So never install OpenCloud on your computer. We install it on a secure VPS. When we say VPS, that means a remote server that is secure and has no connection to your own files on your computer. So in this case, I'm actually choosing Hostingle. Today is the server that is secure. And on top of that, it will actually give me a predefined OpenCloud registration. That means I'll have a ready-to-use server. You don't need to do the installations or actually type in the command lines to install OpenCloud. Because OpenCloud requires an Ubuntu environment, it needs what's called Docker, the Docker environment, so that it can actually run. And it's not easy to install. If you're a beginner in IT, it's really too time-consuming. So what I did was I just went and got a hosting server. I'll leave the link in the description for you. It will take you to this page here because there is a server specifically for OpenCloud and it offers you 3 types of packages. And the difference is in the processor side. This one has 2 processors and 8 gigabytes of RAM, 4 processors and 16 gigabytes of RAM, 8 processors and 32 gigabytes of RAM. The choice is simple if you're just looking to explore. Go for the KVM2. That's for someone who wants to test things out. If you really want to get a server and create automations, go for the KVM4 in that case. And if you're a business and you really want to set up agents that will perform repetitive tasks every day and operate at a very high level, choose a server with a lot of RAM because OpenCloud is very resource intensive. In terms of resources, the more powerful the server you choose, the more instant the response will be when you send a request. The one I'm demonstrating today is a KVM8. You'll notice from the information that when I ask it to execute a command, it responds very quickly. It doesn't use too many resources for installations, but it does for running creations. So for testing, for example, this is just to show you, you actually select the server you're interested in. Once I'm there, the system will automatically give you, in fact, a 30-day satisfaction or your money-back guarantee. And that's very interesting. That means you can take a powerful server, test it, and see if it meets your needs. And if not, well, within 30 days, you can get your money back, even if you have already created your agents. Actually, they are very, very good with the server, so you can keep it. Be careful with hosting, you can't upgrade. That means when you choose a server to test, you either cancel and pick another more powerful server. And that's sometimes a bit unfortunate if you've already created agents, or if you've spent a month configuring it. So from the start, choose a powerful server to make sure it meets your needs. Now here, you'll see this. This is a new option that was added recently. AI ready to use. And here, I recommend that you check it. Why? Because OpenCloud can't work without an LLM. Because afterwards, you'll have to insert it manually, either the one from ChatGPT or from Claude. And I strongly encourage you to use the one from Claude. But if you want to avoid having to manually configure your LLM's API again, you simply select this option here. This option will actually give you 5 credits. These credits are free, and what do they give you? In fact, they give you the ability to make a lot of requests and use a significant amount of token consumption. So here it gives you 5 credits, so 5 more for free. There are 20 credits plus 20 for free. In any case, just take the one with 5 because you can add more later. Because in any case, you need an LLM. So either you do it with manual configuration afterwards, or you choose the automatic option. And that's what I recommend. Personally, I use this in a pretty automatic way now, so I don't have to worry each time about checking whether it's Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT to top up credits in order to run OpenCloud. Also, a very interesting piece of information. On hosting its official website, they've shared a new coupon. It's for beginners who are going to create their first OpenUC server. You simply enter Cloud 10, so that's where 10 gives you access. In fact, to a special discount for people who are creating their first server. That's the one. There you go. It actually gives you a 10% discount. And of course, you can choose the duration. The longer you choose, like 24 months, it's much cheaper than 2 months or less. So here the price will go up a bit. So in that case, I can choose 24 months to get access. In fact, the server for that entire period. Because when it expires, for example, if you choose 2 months, when it expires, you'll have to renew at 16 euros. But if I choose 24 months, then I'll renew at 14 euros per month, but only after 24 months. And that's much more advantageous. That's all. So we won't need any other options. There's an option for daily backups. I only recommend that for businesses. For those who always want to have a backup system, because if there's ever an attack or a problem with the certain agents can roll back to 24 hours earlier. And that's very important for businesses. But if you're a freelancer and just want to test, you don't need it for now. So here I choose the location. I always select France. And now all I have to do is simply click on continue to confirm this action. So the first thing to do, you'll see here that the system has just given me a token. So the token is actually like a password. Of course, I can change it here and I can even change it later. But be careful, you'll need to click here to display it and save it somewhere secure. It's like your password to access your OpenCloud server. So this is the password, and as a result, it's going to be very important. In fact, make sure to save it, and you also have the option to enter your WhatsApp number. And you can enter what's called the Telegram bot token. We simply go to Telegram. We search for BotFather here in the search bar. We'll find this channel. I'll type @new, and it will ask me to suggest a name for your bot, Telegram. So here I suggest a name. And then it will tell me to add Terry Baboot. That's what I did. And there you go, it gave me a token. So it's actually very, very simple to do. And anyway, you can even do it later on. You don't have to do it right from the start. At any time, you can configure WhatsApp and Telegram. I'm doing it here because it's very easy. You just needed to have the Telegram app installed. So now I come here. And here we're actually going to paste this Telegram bot code. And as I told you, it's possible to do it later. All that's left to do now is simply to click on deploy. And that's it. We're going to let the system handle the deployment. In reality, it's installing the entire system with the Ubuntu server and the Docker environment. We'll have an OpenCloud ready to use in just 2 clicks. Deployment takes just a few moments. And as you'll see here, it gave me some keys. These are actually credits that I can later use to ask questions to our system. And there's even the option here to click to reload. If I ever want to reload, it's possible. And here I can even click to copy these keys. So really, this is a system that is open and clear depending on the model we use. It will handle the reloading and continue to use it in an automated way. And that's really very, very interesting. It saves me from having to create APIs, generate tokens, especially if you're a beginner and you want to go straight ahead and immediately deploy OpenClaw and use it very quickly. So there you go. Here's my server. It's ready. So you'll see here in the 3 dots. Here we have the update section, which is very interesting. Every time you click here, it will give you the very latest version of OpenClaw. Yes, that's very interesting. When I click, thank you. You'll see that it will take about 2 to 3 minutes. Actually, to check for the server update. Let it run. This is the first thing to do when you have just installed the OpenCloud server. And there you go, the project is now updated. So now we have the very latest version. And what I'm going to do is click here on open. Now remember that we actually saved our token. So we've already saved it. So I'm going to use the token here. So here, this is my code. And I simply click on login. You'll see what it's going to do. If I click on overview here, it's ready to be operational. And this is the URL. So what you're going to do, look here, there's agent. I click on agent. And now I'm going to detect the LLM that was installed automatically. Because remember, we said credits actually, and here, of course, you can reload them if you click here to add credits. But here, by default, it's using GPT-4. And that's a bad deal. Well, I'm telling you right now, you shouldn't use ChatGPT as the main model when you're working with OpenCloud because it has, let's not say limitations, but there are restrictions imposed by OpenAI up to today. I hope this will be unlocked later on. But Cloud in short means it's much, much more suitable. And here on Cloud, you'll see that there are 2 models. There's the 4.6 and there's the 4.5. The 4.5 is really, really good. It can do the job. You can work well with the 4.5, but the 4.5 isn't expensive. That means you can really send a huge number of requests. But the 4.6 is much more powerful, but it's a bit more costly. That's normal. But really, the power you can get here with this system is incredible. You click on save to save, and there you go. That's my system. It's ready when I open the chat. Here, you can start the conversation right away. So as you can see, now we can say that our server is ready. So we've installed OpenCloud on a secure VPS server. We didn't type a single command line. And on top of that, the AI and the token are already actually connected, so the system is ready to start. The first thing we're going to do in our documentation is come here to the table of contents and scroll all the way down to this section called Cloud Hub. So here in this section, I'm going to work on strengthening the power of the OpenCloud agent by giving it some very important instructions that we'd like to add to the agent. First of all, you'll find them in 2 languages. You can either copy it in English or in French, so you're free to choose the language you want to use. This instruction. And what's the idea here? It's that we're going to ask it to follow some guidelines, such as giving it unrestricted access to the internet, as well as allowing it to use browsing to automate everything related to browsing the internet and even executing shell commands. Then we're actually going to give it instructions, for example, about what it should do when a task is assigned to it. We're going to tell it that anything like I can't is not part of its vocabulary. That means if I ask it to do something, I don't want it to tell me I don't want to. I want it to look for and suggest solutions to me. And I don't know how to do the same thing. So for me, I want to ask it. To actively research on the internet, read documentation, and even look through tutorials and forums. And that will require the system to learn and try to make progress. And that's very interesting. Because usually people, if they don't know the information, they'll tell you, I didn't find it, or I didn't understand, or I don't know. On the other hand, when you tell it before responding with those kinds of remarks or answers, I want you to search, to learn, to dig through everything, internet, tutorials, documentation, so that you always give me solutions. If you don't have a recommendation, at least give me some solutions and I'll try to choose the best one. Then I tell it this before triggering anything. If something is impossible, then we ask it to explore at least 3 different approaches, to test at least twice, to do everything, including consulting documentation, so that each time there is a failure, it will learn from that failure. Next, the execution mindset. The role is always to deliver results, not excuses. And if one plan fails, it must move on to plan B, C, and so on. So it will never stop. These are, in a way, a few rules of engagement. That's what I call them, which your agent must be equipped with. So, all of this, these are really very important instructions. So now I'm going to copy this and ask my agent to take these tasks into consideration. So what I'm going to do still on Hostinger is open here. OpenCloud. So now we're going to run it. Right now, I am currently located here in the main chat section. And as we discussed earlier, we really need to retrieve this specific prompt and then simply ask the system to execute this prompt for us. Now, just to give a very important piece of information, in reality, it will try to write these instructions into a well-known file called the agent file. Here's a quick preview if you want to see. This is a bit of the overall architecture of the basic files that make up the OpenCloud architecture. And you'll see here we have an agent.md. So this is simply what the rules are. So this one, in fact, it will update the information exactly in this file here. So I'll come back here and we'll paste. Actually, the instructions, so here I've pasted everything. In fact, looking back at our conversation in the chat, all that is really left for us to do now, and of course, it would be incredibly interesting to explain the full details right here, so that is exactly what we are going to do. You need to take these specific rules and carefully add them into the agent.md file, which, as you might know, is a standard markdown document used for configuration. There we go, and I do this, so colon, and I run it. So what it's going to do, of course, is let's try to increase the size a little bit. So now it's going to take all these instructions into account. Right now, it's working to update the rules of its system. And there you have it. So now my system is really going to be a machine ready to search for anything, to find anything, to help humans, to do all tasks, even if there are impossible or difficult tasks, and it will do whatever is necessary to accomplish them. That's the first thing to do when you open OpenCloud. Basically, we're transforming the mind of OpenCloud so that it becomes someone. Let's say a machine ready to never say, I don't know how to do that, or I can't do that. Once that's set up, then we'll move on to what's called installing skills. So now we're going to move on to the website called Cloud Hub. Of course, as always, you'll find the links in the documentation. So what is Cloud Hub? Quite simply, here you'll find the skills offered by the Cloud Hub community. So it's not, of course, there are official skills, but there are also skills created by many developers from around the world, even by companies. The first thing to know is that these skills can be installed and downloaded with our OpenCloud, which makes things easier. And what does the word skills mean? It's like in the movie The Matrix, where Neo says, I know Kung Fu. And it's a program that was downloaded in a few seconds. It's kind of like that. You download the skill and the system will learn those skills. For example, you tell it, I want you to be an expert in Excel. You'll find Excel skills here and the system will master Excel as if it were a first-level expert. So the note I want to make here is that in skills, you'll see you can search because there are, look, 11,000 skills. That's huge. The first thing to do, which I recommend, and by the way, they just added this option, is this, read suspicious. What does that mean? When you click here, the system will actually hide, if you search here, the extensions and the skills. Wherever it thinks there's something wrong. That means there could be a virus or malicious code because sometimes developers give you skills. But behind these developers, they might have, well, a hacker's mindset. And what they actually want to do is inject something to get inside that skill so they can retrieve data from your server. So that's very interesting. So when let's just take this skill here just to test, you'll see that the system, they've always set up an antivirus. You should never download something from a place where it tells you there's malicious code. Now, I'm going to show you some skills that are currently clean. There's no problem with them. But of course, if they ever release updates or new versions, you should always check to make sure the updates are safe and there isn't any malicious code. Because there are people who, once they are well ranked and have earned a lot of stars here, and everyone is downloading their work, at some point they might add new versions. So if you ever update that skill to get the latest versions and updates, always make sure there's no issue. Don't ask your agent to tell it, do the update. No, I come here and I check myself. Every time an update is made, you'll see there's a little button. See the antivirus? And here, there are many antivirus sites, even Bitdefender. You can even find Google's. There's also McAfee, I think, and Malwarebytes as well. So really, these are reputable companies that have checked the files and said they didn't detect anything. And that's very good. I think you can even find Amazon's as well. So I don't know if that's included in the study. There you go, McAfee, it's right there. So really, all the antivirus programs, Alibaba, for example, are here too. It's a very powerful tool. So as a result, there's absolutely no issue with this system. Now, the first thing to do, we're not going to manually install the skills, even though it's possible to do so. You can download each skill and follow the instructions. And actually, it takes a lot of time to do that. And the strength of OpenCloud is having an agent capable of training itself and installing the skill on its own. So the first thing I'm going to do is give it, in fact, that variability. This actually will allow it to later download any skill, any folder all at once. So now I'm simply going to copy this. There you go, I'm actually copying this command. And I've already put this command here as well in case you can't find it. And now I'm going back to my server, and you'll see on my server there's a little button here called Terminal. When I click here, it gives me access so I can enter commands on the server. And it's very simple. So here I just come and simply try to run this command. Here it told me that it actually needs to install something. So here is this package. It asked me yes or no. I say yes. So here I type yes and confirm. And now there you go. It's going to start installing. So we just keep working. And now it's going to download everything. As you can see, there you go. So it has completed the download. It told me that the installation of Sonicus has been completed. It even created a skills folder for me where it placed this folder for all future skill installations. So that's the first step. You now understand the importance of skills. And now I'm going to show you some very important skills if you really want to use your agent. And we give it the power so it can really do interesting things. So the first skill I recommend you install is in the memory section. So you'll see here on OpenCloud, when I start discussions here, you'll notice that I have a little button called New Session. Sometimes when I start a new session, it's true that it can remember things throughout the entire session. That's a little bit the strength. For example, on ChatGPT, when the session gets a bit long and there are a lot of exchanges between me and ChatGPT, it becomes slow and sometimes it forgets the instructions I gave at the beginning. So as a result, I have to remind it every time. OpenCloud doesn't have this problem. It can remember all the discussions, even if you have 3,000 exchanges in a single session. But between sessions, that's where it loses its memory. Because if I click here to open a new session, it's as if I have to check when I start the session. There you go. So it starts over and tells me that there is no memory, that there isn't any information developed yet in this session. And that's not good because it's really interesting to have a system where I can just add things each time. And when I want information, and even if I talked about that information in other sessions, I want it to remember that. And here you'll see when I search for memory, there are quite a few tools related to memory. Of course, I'm only looking for the skills that are verified. And the one I recommend to you actually is this one. This one, it will solve that problem. So of course, the link is right here. You can find it in the documentation. So it's simple. How am I going to install it? Look here. I'm going to copy it here into the URL. It has the link and I'm going to come here on OpenCloud. And it's simple. I'm just going to tell it here. Install this skill. It's simple. And I'll put the link, the URL. And I launch it. And it's actually going to take care of downloading it. It will perfectly understand the different files and know that it needs to go to skill.md. So here, this is the section where I have all the skills on my server. And it's going to add, there you go. So here, to activate this then. So it's actually adding this file here, active. So there you go. It even gives me here all the details of what it's going to do. So it's going to modify all these files and especially the file called memory. And there you go, to give it all this power. And it even has. In fact, there you go. So regarding the dates, it activates so that the session doesn't die, actually, when we end it. So if I come back here to OpenCloud, it's good. It told me that it's fine and ready to be used. So now I have an OpenCloud that can remember all the data and information, even between sessions, even if I create new sessions. And that's something we don't have on OpenChatGPT or even on Claude or elsewhere. If you open a new chat, that's it. You have to start all over again from the beginning. But here really, even if you have thousands of sessions that are very full, it can quickly go through and remember all that information. So now we actually have another skill that is very important, which is Perplexity. So why do I always prefer Perplexity for research? Because Perplexity can search and provide actually reliable sources, references that go far beyond what we can find with Bing or even ChatGPT. And here actually there are two types of Perplexity skills. So there is, if you look here, the classic Perplexity. So that's for everything related to internet research. But there's another mode called Deep Search. Now this one is a bit more advanced. This one is actually where we push the pro version of Perplexity to do research. Generally, when you use it, it really gives very detailed, very in-depth reports. And we need that. Especially actually when we have complex analysis information and so on. To activate it, it's simple. So here, we're going to go to this section. Again, actually, no viruses inside. And we're going to do the same thing. So now let's go ahead and copy the URL. And here, I'm going to ask it here. So we just installed, or rather, we're here. That's it. We're going to give it install. I put this in and I paste it. So you'll see that here, of course, for it to work, I'll need what we call my API. Because the system needs a Perplexity API so that it has authorization to access the Perplexity platform. And from there, it will use Perplexity's capabilities. You'll see, it won't be long before it asks me for the API. So as you can see right here, it is actually fully installed now. Let's take a look and see. I'm going to go ahead and ask it, do you happen to need anything else? And here, I'm simply going to copy exactly. The app mixed with the environment, primary environment, actually with the API. And we'll see if it needs that or if it has trouble finding it. Actually, on my server, as I said, I had already installed a Perplexity API in the past. So now we'll see it checking. So what is it going to tell me? So what is it telling me? It's telling me this. For now, it hasn't actually found that in my environment. And it's telling me, listen, even for the old skill, because I previously installed Perplexity for web search, and even this new one that I just installed a moment ago, it's telling me it needs both of them. So it's saying that I can actually add them here in my dashboard. So I'm simply going to give it to it, tell it, here you go, you have this API, and do what's necessary to register it here. So what I'm going to do, as you'll see, is simple. I'm going to go here. Actually, on the Perplexity platform, so on Google, you simply type Perplexity API platform, and then you click on Get Your API. So here, it will automatically take me to this interface, and I'll need to select API key, because on the Perplexity platform, I can of course create my key. Of course, here in billing, in the billing section, you add $3 or $4 so that the system can generate about 100 tokens thanks to that. And so now I'm going to copy this. There you go, the key has been copied. And now, at this stage of the process, I am simply going to provide a very clear and direct instruction to the system because I want you to go ahead and perform every single step that is currently necessary in order to successfully add my unique security key to the configuration so that everything works perfectly as we originally intended. You should take the data from Perplexity and then carefully input it into the configuration settings. And of course, here I have 2 colons and I'm just going to paste it right here. The system, the API I just created, and let the system handle it. And here's the result. So of course the key here, it started searching in the environment. And afterwards, it stored this key. And now it tells me it's done. The key is configured in 2 ways, so it added it here in OpenCloud.json. it added here in the configuration the two keys that I installed, the Perplexity Classic and the Perplexity Deep Search. Now they can use this API without any problem. So my system is equipped with Perplexity for everything from quick searches to actually complex searches, advanced ones. So now this isn't really a skill we're going to discard, but actually a system that will help the agent find local internal information on its server and in its files without needing to use LLMs to find that information. Let me explain. OpenECLA, in fact, in order to function, needs an LLM somewhere, like ChatGPT, like Claude, like Gemini, so that it can think and find the information. And that consumes tokens, which means it has a cost because it will use your API, for example, ChatGPT's or Claude's, to process and find the information. On the other hand, there are a huge number of queries and searches that are done on OpenECLA's internal files because it has certain skills installed on these files. It has information, there are codes, there are downloads, it has a lot of information. So as a result, if we install this, it will give OpenClaw the ability to avoid using LLMs when it needs to retrieve internal information. And that really made you can actually feel it. When you optimize on that side, OpenClaw will no longer be expensive. It will only use LLM tools if it needs to fetch skills, experiences, or information from the internet, or to analyze, to actually understand the content thanks to, in fact, the LLMs. But if we don't need LLMs, it's easy. So thanks to this, we can really run smoothly and efficiently. So let me actually show you this. This is actually a project that exists on GitHub, by the way, and it has 492 stars, so I think it has been very well received. This is in fact the skill called the QMD skill. So by the way, I can simply just in fact copy it here and actually, the information, by the way, if I click here to see the home page and all the files, the information that's inside, a huge amount of work has been done and a lot of people in fact have contributed to the success of this project. So when the user actually sends their request, the system will then use, there you have it, internal techniques, what we call expansions. So these will call on the LLM. And then of course it will launch what we call parallel search to find the information. Across everything you have a huge amount of data on your OpenClaw. And then after that it will provide the result. And the LLM in a way is the interpretation, and that's what's very interesting. And then it will give the result. Because before we take a query, the prompt, which is sent by the user, and we rely heavily on the LLM to make the system run. But if we leave it, so another mechanism for making the game work, you'll see. We will save a lot in terms of token consumption, and as for installing it, you know how it goes. So here, I just tell it to install this extension, I launch it, it will install it, it will understand what it's useful for, and of course, it will use it to answer any question that I actually ask it. So there you go, it told me that it has been installed and that's it, it's quite lightweight. And now it's ready to use it. So now we're going to work on this new skill, which is N, 8N, so this is a system. Of course, it's a node rather than a skill. Make sure to check it properly. All I have to do is give it to it. Actually, the URL of my N8N is also an API key. And the system? It will have a whole set of features that will allow it to create, manage, update, to do everything. On an 8N without me actually needing to log into my N8N account. So, to get it installed, as usual, we just copy the link, come here and tell it to install. And here I would actually add this feature. I actually submit the request and it's working on it. In fact, that's how it sets up the system. And you'll see that the N8N workflow, I'm going to go here into the settings and you'll see that here in the N8N API section, I can actually create a key. So the key is very important. All right, so I'm going to click on edit to retrieve it. So here we're going to create a new one. So we're going to create a new key. I'm going to give this key a name. All right, let's call it OpenClaw. That's the key. I can choose whether I want it to expire in 30 days or not, no expiration. And so I click on save. And of course, I've copied my new key. So I'm going to copy and paste it. And I'm going to come back here. So now it has completed the installation. Everything is done properly. So now it tells me it's ready to use. All right, so here I actually need to provide it with two pieces of information. The key, and also pay attention, I also need to give it this, the URL, so the one for my instance, because in the documentation it's clear. And it says that it actually needs these two pieces of information here. So I'm going to give it these two pieces of information. and ask Valère to use them in order to make all the necessary connections. So now I'm going to tell it I'm giving you my key. API from N8N and also the URL of my instance. And here, of course, I needed to copy everything so it could actually take the information into account. So I start with the key, I enter the key, and there you go, my key is set up along with the URL. It's configured, and now it asks me, do you want to do something with the workflow? And Ben, yes, I want to do something with workflow, and now I'm going to try to actually execute this request. Here, we're going to ask it to create a workflow for us with N8N, and I wanted to check my emails 3 times a day, and I wanted to identify if there are any emails that require a personalized response from me. It will give me a clear summary for each of those emails and send that to me on Telegram. And on top of that, I want to be able to reply myself either directly by email or ask it to do it for me. So I send a message on Telegram and it should reply, right? All of this, normally, if I asked a human to do it, it would be a job. It's really something someone could do. But here, with a workflow, I want the system to create it for me. So now we're going to copy this and execute it here. So now I'm going back to OpenCloud. All right, let's send this to the chat. And this is something, let's say, a bit more advanced that we're asking for. So it's going to use the N8N instance. So now it's checking the nodes that are available on my instance because it's going to use what's called the credential, meaning the connections that I've already set up on N8N. And if there aren't any, actually, it will create them. Here, it actually created the scenario. This is important. Setting up the trigger, which means it will activate 3 times a day. It will check using the Gmail node, call on an AI agent that will filter the Gmail and apply conditions. If necessary, it will send me a message on Telegram, and if not, it will just move on. This is really serious stuff. So now he's in the process of creating it, so we'll let him do that. So while he's finishing up this creation, and you'll see when he tells me he's done, we'll take a look at the workflow that was created, and there you go, it's been created. It only took, I think, 20 seconds. So he told me he set up the trigger, the flow, it was scheduled for 8 a.m., 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. So he set it up for those 3 times. Gmail will retrieve the unread emails. For the last 8 hours, it will run the code to prepare the data. It will call OpenAI, the GPT-4o Mini. I think it's interesting, the GPT-4o Mini. It's fast, it doesn't focus too much, it's good for analyzing emails. It will check if a response is needed. It will create a summary. It will even categorize them by priority, red, orange, yellow, and green. After that, it will filter. Nothing happens if there are actionable emails. It only goes through if there are actionable emails, meaning emails that require something. Actually, I checked them, and then on Telegram, you can see a summary of what you still need to configure in the interfaces. So for Gmail, add the credits in the Google Open one, enter the key, and for Telegram, actually create the chatbot. So here, if I go, and even if I'm here, he can actually help me with creating and setting up the 3 credits in that one. All right. So now I'm going to go to workflow, and there you go. It's been created. That's pretty impressive. That's the kind of thing I like. In the system, it's not just about creating the workflow. He created it, he set it up, and there you go. That's my workflow. It's really, really nice. I really like what he did. So here, the trigger then. 8 a.m., there you go. So he set it for during the day. Actually 1 p.m. and it was 8 a.m. This one and that one. I think he set it for 6 p.m. So 6 p.m. That's good. The trigger, and here it's Gmail. So for me, I can click here. So right away, I see that he actually found my colleague in this because I already have. Actually, I like the way it was configured. Here, we'll see it. So it's configured. We can click a second time to make sure it's properly configured. There you go. So now I actually checked the configuration. So it's really, really good. So here, so now we should be here. Actually, we're going to find the NEMA label. So that should be it. The inbox. 1, because that's the folder. Actually, that's where it should fetch the information. So it's going to be an inbox and everything that is, but no, they're not read. And there you go. So now after receiver. So of course it's going to retrieve based on this header. So we're just like in the system. He told me the last 8 hours he's interested in that. Very good. So it's going to retrieve all the emails. So that's the system. Then here, if it found something, so it has normally. Here, he put a JavaScript function to clean up the content, because in an email, you can find attachments and everything. And here, actually, he called this agent. So we're going to try to check the model. So the model, we said 40 mini. So now we're going to look for it manually. So here he chose the 40 mini. Normally, we should find it here. 4, in theory, of the reunited. There it is. That's the one. So everything's fine. He even put take it here. And that's something I like too. So it explains what it wants to take and where. That's really, really good. That's variable 1.2, which should be returned by the no key just before. So you see, I'm just checking here, but basically it was done really, really well. I liked it. I really loved it. It's very, very beautiful. Well done. Formatted for Telegram. You have to send a message to Telegram with the priorities. And then if it requires a response, it will send it to Telegram. Of course, on Telegram, I'll show you. We had to select a credential because on Telegram, it was necessary. I'm going to open Telegram. In Telegram, I'm going to select a node I want to work with. I'm going to take a look and see if YouTube is up and running or not. It was really necessary to connect the system. Otherwise, you can make a new connection if you want. It's very fast. I'm checking. Here, Telegram. I have several. I think here we have Abyssal. The Abyssal connection, I think I saw it somewhere here. Otherwise, listen, we'll do this very quickly. So right here, I'm going to click on the boot folder. And then I'll go over there to select /new. And that's really all there is to it. I have several bots, so we'll delete one. All right, I'll leave this live. This might also be interesting for those who aren't too familiar with this. So we'll go ahead and delete the specific one that I use, plus this other one right over here. We'll remove it. I'm going to confirm by clicking yes, because I really want to remove all of this to clear out some much needed storage space since I currently have several different bots running. So now we're going to create a new one. So we type /new, as you can see here very clearly. And now we're going to call it Dr. Ferris. And here we'll call it open. And now we'll do the same thing again and add boot at the end. Dr. Firas. Teriba. Open Teriba boot. Okay, so he actually gave me this token here. So we're going to copy this token like this. We're going to come over here and generate and establish a brand new Ansel key. So right here, I'm actually going to manually paste the specific authentication token, and then we'll assign it a descriptive name. Let's call it Telegram. Let's just name it Telegram OpenCloud for now, and then we proceed by clicking on the Save button to finalize the entire process. And that's done, as you can see. So now if I actually send a message here, it will be received on my Telegram. Now about the chat ID, we actually need to enter the chat ID. So to find the user ID, it's simple. I just come here to this channel. Here, which I created, I write, there you go. I can write any message. For example, here, I'll type hello. There you go, it's here. Actually, I'm going to right click and click on forward. And then in the search bar, you simply, if you want to type, I'll show you. You actually need to type user info bot like this. There you go, user info bot. You'll see there's a bot here. If I send it a message, it will automatically send me back the ID of this channel, this chat. I copy it and paste it here. There you go. There you go, we've just done it, and so now at 100% my workflow is operational. And of course I just need to click on publish. Either I click here on publish so that it's published, or I can actually ask my agent to publish it. And so this is a system that can work automatically. Did you see? I asked to run the workflow and it was done in 2 seconds. That's really impressive, everything I just did. Alright, I'm going to actually check the credits in the one with the necessary connections. And of course it depends on my own Telegram and everything. But there's really a whole assistant here, which is very powerful, capable of taking over and helping you go through all these steps, step by step. I'm an expert in N8N, so I knew exactly what was missing. But don't hesitate to ask it so it gives you all the necessary results. And there you go, we've reached the end of this training. And if you stayed until the end, I'm giving you a special gift for my YouTube community. So now head over to my website, Dr. Ferraz VP, and here on this site, I actually offer training packs. For example, I have a pack of 28 courses on automation with N8N. So these are trainings that are kept up to date. And here you really learn how to automate, how to create systems using artificial intelligence. And there's even a pack with 1,000 hours. That's all my courses that are available on Udemy. I've combined them into a single interface where you can have direct access to this system. So the gift is that you can choose between these two packs. By the way, the second pack actually offers the first pack for free. This one automatically includes the one with 28 courses. And if you come here to the promotion, you can enter YT20 and you'll get a 20% discount to access everything. All these courses come with lifetime access. And as always, there's a guarantee. 14 days, satisfied, or your money back. Of course, you can click here and watch a whole video where I show you, for example, regarding this pack. You'll find exactly what I offer to my community, what's included, all the details. These are courses where I start from a blank page for beginners and show them step by step. How to learn to automate, and how to learn to set things up. So today, there are actually 700 people who have joined this package. So I hope to see you in this interface. With that, I want to say thank you very much and see you soon.